So, Twitter's new CEO, Parag Agrawal, I believe that's how you pronounce it, will be paid, and he's going to get paid very thick amounts of money. Like, he is going to be making a lot of money. And to like the everyday person, it's like almost stupid how much money he's going to end up making as like the brand new CEO, because a lot of people almost can't really fathom making the amount of money that he's going to be making. But let's get right into it. So, Twitter's new CEO will receive a major payday in addition to his promotion. Parag Agrawal, who served as the social network's chief technology officer until Jack Dorsey announced his surprise departure on Monday, will receive an annual salary of $1 million, according to documents the company filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Agrawal, who's 37 years old, will also be eligible for an annual performance bonus worth as much as 150% of his salary, meaning he could take home up to another $2.5 million per year. Agrawal has also been granted a stock award worth $12.5 million, which will vest in 16 equal quarterly increments beginning February 1st, 2022. So Agrawal's salary is a far cry from the 1.40 annual pay his predecessor earned for the past few years, and Dorsey took a lower salary to symbolize his commitment to and belief in Twitter's long-term value creation potential. The company said in a filing he is currently worth more than $12 billion, according to Bloomberg. So Agrawal joined Twitter in 2011 as a software engineer and rose through the ranks to become one of Dorsey's closest partners in charting the future of the company, CNBC reported Monday. In particular, Agrawal has been a key player in Dorsey's Project Blue Sky, an open source project whose ultimate goal is to make different social media networks interact similarly to email. And so the long-term vision, CNBC reported in 2019, is to allow users of different social networks to communicate with one another seamlessly. As CTO, Agrawal also helped accelerate Twitter's growth by helping guide the development of its artificial intelligence and machine learning technology, according to his bio. While it was a decade ago, those days feel like yesterday to me. Agrawal wrote in an email to employees after being announced as CEO. I've walked in your shoes, I've seen the ups and downs, the challenges and obstacles, the wins and mistakes, but then and now, above all else, I see Twitter's incredible impact, our continued progress, and the exciting opportunities ahead of us. So, the reason why we wanted to cover this, right? Like, let's say that you end up being in the lucky scenario where you end up making a very high salary. This is something that you can basically learn from this, right? One, we're not really going to factor in his performance bonus for the whole basically stock awards that he's going to basically get, right? It's kind of like a long-term play. There are like basically I wouldn't really do anything with that investments, even though they're individual stocks, just because he's making so much money that there's not really any need to actually have access to that money, really, ever. So I'll just like leave it how it is because, his situation is a little bit different than everyone else, where he has a pretty high amount of stocks available to him that's going to be invested that potentially could turn into crazy amounts of money, right? And so if he ends up planning on becoming the CEO for long term, meaning for multiple years, I probably wouldn't really do too much with that stocks that he's basically going to receive. But so let's say that you are someone who makes a very high income, or basically you end up making $1 million a year, right? From whatever way you're going to be making that money, right? The best thing to do if you basically get a massive pay raise, right? With a lot more responsibility while getting paid $1 million. The thing to really do is to basically minimize the distractions in your life, minimize the stressors in your life, meaning with this new source of income or bigger source of income, if I was in this person's shoes, I would pay off every single amount of debt that I have, right? And this could be any amount of debt, right? We're talking, credit card debt, student loan debt, mortgage debt, right? Any sort of loan debt, right? Any leases, get rid of that, right? Like, I would be completely against getting debt in this situation. Like, I would be 100% debt free in his situation and basically purely just live on like a cash basis, meaning you only buy things that you can actually afford, so that he could dedicate the majority of his free time, his mental capacity, to being CEO of one of the largest companies in America, right? That's what I would do. If you're someone who's making a really good amount of money, the best thing to do is just pay off your debt, get an emergency fund, start automatically putting money towards investments that is not individual stocks like Twitter stock, because Twitter stock fluctuates like crazy, and who knows if Twitter's going to be around for the next 10 years. I'd probably put that money in like an index fund that trades the S&P 500, or in like a mutual fund that basically does the exact same thing, something that's long term that I could pretty much know based off its historical track record of returning, between like I don't know, like 7 to 12% annually, average, right, per year. I'd put the majority of my extra cash into that, my investment cash into that. So like let's say that he has like, I don't know, maybe $100,000 in personal consumer debt. I'm talking about credit cards, car loan, and also potentially student loans, right? I'd pay that off. Probably has like a very expensive house if he lives in California. So let's just say $600,000 left on a mortgage or something like that. I'd pay that off. Obviously, deal with all the taxes situation and all that kind of stuff, and be 100% debt free. Basically, what I would do in his situation would be to 100% secure myself financially, have such a strong financial foundation to where if anything happens while I'm CEO, or if anything happens while I'm someone in a position in a company that makes a lot of money, if anything happens to where my income will drop down or something, or maybe I get fired for doing something stupid, I'm okay because I've set myself up in a way where no matter what happens, I'm golden, right? Because this is the thing. If this is in California, which I'm assuming it is, the amount of taxes that he's going to have to pay is insane, right? The amount of expenses that he's going to have is insane, right? So I would do everything I can to basically get rid of as many expenses that I have per month so that I have this massive amount of cash flow to pretty much go do whatever I want and to also go super hard as being CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. Okay? Because that is the biggest chance of me making the most amount of money by simply doing extremely well at my job, right? Because I could easily get that performance bonus, basically make 3 million in just pay in a single year, not to mention whatever sort of extra bonuses, because there's going to be some extra stuff probably along the lines, right? So I would do everything in my power to make it easier for me to end up getting that performance bonus, right? This is similar to someone who like does sales and they end up having like a performance bonus at the end of the year based off how many, cars they sell or products they sell or all that kind of stuff, right? You could end up making a disgusting amount of money, right? This is the same kind of thing with like you hear stories of like investment bankers where they can make like 100 grand per year on like base salary, and then in the final month of the year, basically December, right? Their bonus check could literally be $100,000 straight into their account, right? Or more, right? So in reality, the best financial decision for him is to pay off all his debt so that he could focus purely on increasing the performance that he does as CEO so that he can get that performance bonus of potentially another $1.5 million added onto his $1 million salary. So that's what I would definitely do. If you're someone who ends up making like you just randomly in a sense went from like making like 30, $40,000 a year to now making like over $100,000 a year. If that were to ever happen to you, what you need to do is make sure that you pay off all your debt, create an emergency fund, and start putting money towards investments automatically because you do not know how long that will actually last. And you see this issue with people who end up like doing social media or like who end up getting famous or who end up having a one hit wonder with their song or something or like a acting role, and they get paid like millions of dollars for that single thing, but they end up being stupid with their money because they assume it's going to last forever, but that's not always the case, right? That's the thing you got to really understand. There is a risk factor in this, that because you got this new position that pays a lot more money now, you have a lot more responsibilities, which also means that it's going to be a lot easier for people to just, basically chop off your head or chop off your legs, fire you, etc., blah, blah, blah kind of stuff, right? You could be kicked out, right? You could lose your job, right? Now you're basically homeless if you completely screwed yourself financially in terms of like your spending habits and all that kind of stuff, right? So live below your means, pay off your debt, create an emergency fund, start automatically investing your money, and you'll be golden. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com.